But so first of all, I'll be leaving tomorrow morning and heading to Bangkok, where I'm coordinating some meetings we're calling working groups with just over 20 people who are going to be looking at ways to leverage the opportunities and face challenges that international churches face all over the world. So we've had people registered to come from all 6 continents. Our own Victoria is going to be there with me, working as an expert in the area of work as mission, because that's something you may not be aware of, but that she is very involved with herself, and so she'll be there with us, and we're looking forward to engaging this week on those questions and how we can better serve the international church movement that God is doing so much through around the world. As you all know, as internationals in an international church here, many of you have been in other international churches, and so it just makes such a huge impact. And then the following week, next week, I've got a conference in Bangkok, the Global Gathering, with people coming from all over the world that we're going to be ministering to leaders of international churches, again, from all over. At that gathering, we've got a number of key speakers. Oz Guinness, that you saw the recording of, he's speaking via video. We've got a guy, T.V. Thomas. You may not know the name, but he's part of the Luzon movement that Billy Graham started. It's a global movement that does some really neat stuff. TV himself is from Malaysia, and his interest is the movement of peoples, the diaspora, and he's an expert on this. And so it's always riveting to hear him bringing about kind of looking at how God is working through moving people around. And if we remember in Acts, Paul says that God has appointed where different nations will live. And so as we see these people moving around the world, whether it's because of war in Ukraine, whether it's because of natural disasters, whether it's because of marriages or opportunities or education, we know ultimately God is sovereign and has a purpose in the movement of people, and international church is on the front line of that. If you look at how many people are like most of us living outside of our country of birth, it's about 250 million people today. If you look at how many people live outside of their place of birth, like their area, so say for example, someone who maybe is from one area in a country, like a Chin person who is then living not in the Chin state in Burma, but in Yangon, which is a whole different language group. Just like many countries in Africa, you can be like Samson, who is from Fort Portal, and he's from the Batoro people, but if he's living in Kampala, it's a whole different people group. If you count all of those who live outside of their people groups, it's about 1 in 8 people today, about 1 billion people that are not living in the place where they were born with their people group. And so international churches have an incredible opportunity to reach this, which would be either the one of the largest nations on earth if you put all these people together. And so that's what we're ministering to. And another one, and so T.V. Thomas is very good about looking at how people are moving and how do we leverage that and how do we make sure we're effective in what we're doing. Another key speaker will be Richard Blackaby, but be praying for him. As most of you know, his brother Tom used to pastor the church here, and I worked with Tom many years ago. He was also here when I was a child as our youth pastor for a while. But so Richard and Tom are brothers, and their mother is on her deathbed. And it's been a bit of a roller coaster. Richard emailed me and he said, hey, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it. It looks like mom's not doing well. Then he emailed me and said, it looks like she's probably going to die today, so we'll have the funeral Friday and I'll see you there. Then he emails me a little bit later, hey, mom's doing better and they're putting her back on the IV, so maybe she's going to go a couple more weeks. So anyway, he doesn't know what's happening. I've said, Richard, just have the time with your mom. Just let us know. So your prayers for their family is appreciated, as we're not quite sure what's going on there. But I love one of the quotes Marilyn, that's their mother, said. She goes, I'm not afraid to die, but living sure has been fun. I think it's a good sentiment as a Christian. But after Thailand for 2 weeks, I'm going to go to Vietnam, and I'm taking John Gerlach and Alta Lynn, who have been here before. They're the ones at Crestview in Midland, Texas, who have partnered with us in missions. I was out there this summer preaching. They're coming with us to Vietnam because their church supports work in Vietnam through MICN. And so they're coming both to Bangkok to see the work of MICN and see this work called Love in Action in Hanoi, in the capital of Vietnam, a communist country. We've seen thousands of Vietnamese come to Christ through this work. And so they're already donors, but they want to see more about it. And so I'm taking them there just to show them around, help them meet the staff, meet the church there that founded this movement. And I think it's going to be a really good experience for them, and it may then lead to further support. I am happy to announce that I found out from John this week that their church has decided to partner with us again this Christmas. As you know, we have had 6 villages in Malawi that had preschool centers where we have now drilled wells and built chicken coops. And 3 of those wells and 3 of the chicken coops, out of 6 each, were funded just this Christmas by Crestview in Midland. And we got that done January, February, we had the work done. Well, John told me this week that they're committing to also do it this year, their Christmas offering. I told him we have 8 more villages with preschool centers with no clean water and with no chicken coops. And so they're committing a larger portion of the Christmas offering, and they're guessing it'll be about $70,000. And we need about $90,000 to do all 8 wells and all 8 chicken coops. So I'm hoping that we can come alongside as a church as well and raise some of the additional money, and we can knock out 8 more of both in the early part of 2023. So that's really quite a blessing. So I was really excited when he sent me that message on Wednesday and said they want to partner with us again. So this is why it's so important when you see pictures of me enjoying beautiful views in Vietnam. It is fun, and I do enjoy, and these are friends. But the reason it's worth me taking the time and not being with you, as much as I'd rather be here in many ways, is because it really is producing results for what we're doing in missions around the world. And so we want to see whatever we can do to leverage those opportunities. So after Vietnam, I've got to go to Almaty, Kazakhstan. I've got a friend there who is a multinational businessman who has some interesting things going on that he has asked me to come and work with him on. And then I was looking forward to coming back and being here the next Sunday, but then I got an email from Rick Warren. Not really from Rick, but it had his name on it, but somebody else sent it. But anyway, he wrote it, he signed it. But if you remember, I was out with Rick Warren last year at Saddleback Ranch, and they've asked me to come back this year, and that's in California, and they've got about 100 leaders from different nations. Last year it was all these Americans and just a few non-Americans, and the problem was they wanted it to be global. And so I told them at the time, I said, this really isn't global. And then, so this year they've changed it, and I'm one of the few people invited back because I do have 2 passports. And so I'm one of the few leaders invited back this year. Most of the others are coming from about 100 different countries, and it's an amazing opportunity. And I realized that a big part of my calling that God has on my life is really 3 things. God uses me to connect people. God uses me with leaders, whether it's to empower them and raise them up, or whether it's to just work with leaders and to lead, and with strategic planning and implementation. And all 3 of those come together in this. So they said they wanted me to come. They're paying for everything. And I looked at the map and I realized, well, I can go east. I can come home to Norway, go to California and come back, or I can go east to Australia to California to Norway, and it's the same difference. And I haven't seen my brother in 3 years. So I'm not going to come back that Sunday as much as I'd like to be with you all, because I have a niece I haven't met yet and a brother I haven't seen in 3 years, and Rick Warren's paying for me to go see him. So anyway, I'm excited about that, and then I'll be coming back here after being in California. So appreciate your prayers. I will be giving you updates as always. I plan to have videos in church and updates on Facebook. I even got some new equipment, so the videos will be even better quality, hopefully, as long as it all works right. So we're looking forward to that. And of course, you can follow, like I said, on Facebook, all the updates of what we're doing in these different countries. But I really appreciate your support, and I'm excited, appreciate your prayers, as I'm sure God's going to do some really neat things over these coming weeks. And again, appreciate Manny. And then I'll see you October 30th, and then I'll give you an update then, and then tell you a little bit more about some of the exciting things God's opened up in November, while Manny's still here, and I continue doing some traveling then. So